If you've been dealing with suicidal ideations, feeling like you're not enough, you have no purpose, the world might be better off without you, you just can't fight anymore, this message is for you.
So I kept going with the fast, going back to that 8 days of fasting. On the eighth day, I wake up. It's a Sunday morning. I was planning to go to church, and then breaking my fast in the afternoon, and then maybe getting something to eat with the church afterwards. But that morning, I felt like I was going to meet my maker. I felt so horrible, physically, mentally. I felt like I was going to leave this planet. So I was there in bed. I was like, Lord, if you want to take me today, just take me. That's fine. But
What?
because I felt so horrible. My head hurt, my muscle, everything in my body was in so much pain. I get up to the sink and then I start throwing up. But it was a spiritual thing. I felt that I was vomiting those demons that were inside of me. And once I finished that, I felt the clarity of all clarities. It felt like almost like I'd gotten a brain transplant. I began to see everything so clearly. And I tried to think of men in the way that I used to, but I felt nothing. I just saw them as brothers. And I was like, oh my gosh, it worked. It worked. Because sometimes during the deliverance process, you'll vomit. Sometimes you'll spit. Sometimes all kinds of things can leave your body. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
I've heard all kinds of stories. One preacher told me that during a deliverance session on a woman, a bird-like creature came out of her downstairs. It's wild. If you hear some of these deliverance testimonies, it's wild. And so that happened to me, and I was so happy, and I felt like just shouting from the rooftops, that there is power in prayer and fasting. And I couldn't wait to go to church and tell everybody and start, get them to pray and fast with me. And I did. I eventually did try to get others to start praying and fasting with me. Not many were too excited about it. Even like strangers sometimes at the stores that I would run into, and they would start telling me their life story, all the suffering, the pain they've gone through. And I thought, you know what? Let me tell them about the power of prayer and fasting. So that happened. I was so excited. But I forgot something. During those 8 days that I was listening to those testimonies, I also saw testimonies from ex-witches and ex-Satanists. And they all warned about being careful about the things that you watch and you listen to, specifically with secular entertainment. Because demonic spirits can be transferred over to us. As you know, many celebrities have created pacts with demonic spirits to obtain fame and success.
Yes.
When we watch their movies, when we listen to their music, that can open a portal for their spirits to enter us. I kind of forgot about that. And I said, I'll be fine. I can handle it. I'll just keep praying, fasting, and reading the Bible every day. And that way I'll still be able to watch TV. That way there's so many awesome movies coming out. There's the X-Men, there's the Marvel movies. I can't stop watching, So little by little, I started to watch little clips on YouTube. And as soon as I began to watch that secular entertainment, I began to feel those demonic spirits returning. And I felt nauseous, like I had to throw up. And it was my spirit telling me, hey, you're contaminating me. You're filling me with spiritual garbage. And I kept watching it because I was addicted to television. I loved movies. I even wrote a movie, and I wrote a TV show and a screenplay because I was a big movie buff.
Wow.
And those demonic spirits returned. I opened up the portals, they returned, and then I fell also eventually into adult videos, which was another one of my weaknesses. And when that happened, brother, I felt like I felt like the biggest piece of garbage on earth. I felt like I disappointed God completely. I felt like I wasn't even worthy of being alive anymore. I thought, Lord, I know you have a ministry for me, but I think there's a lot of better options out there.
Wow.
And so I learned about the power of prayer and fasting. So I thought, why don't I use this to my advantage? Why don't I pray and fast every day for God to just eliminate me?
Wait, what?
To take me out of this world through a car accident or a stroke or a brain end, whatever he wants, to just take me out because I'm sick of it all. And so I began to pray and fast. every day. And I told myself, I'm going to do it even if I have to do it for 1 year, I will do 1 year until he answers that petition. Now that I know that prayer and fasting does bring speed to the process. And so I did. I began to embark on this misguided quest. And I was sure that God would answer it. So much that I actually got a life insurance policy on myself. For,
You were serious?
for $300,000. And I put my mom as the beneficiary. The reasoning behind this is I thought, you know what, at least something good can come out of my life, because I felt like I haven't done anything. I haven't won any souls. I haven't preached the gospel. I've just been a seat warmer. And then my mom could use it for her church, to maybe open up that orphanage in Mexico like she's always wanted to. Like, I know she'll do something good with it, and then my life will have some purpose. And so I remember calling that place, and it was such a surreal experience. And my eyes were tearing up as I was making that phone call. And as soon as I hanged up, I started crying. Because I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to leave this world, but I just didn't see any other way out. I didn't want to be here with all these demons that could so easily access my mind, my emotions, my attractions, just by what I was watching.
Wow.
Just by what I was listening. It didn't seem fair to me.
Gotcha.
But they don't play fair. They're spirits. They've been around forever. They know all the rules of the spirit realm that we don't. And that is one of the, we can give legalities to them to control our minds by what we watch, what we listen to, and also what we say.
So you felt hopeless. It was almost like, there's no point of me trying to live because I'm going to fail.
Right.
Gotcha.
And I didn't want that. I just wanted to live in complete purity. I didn't want those disgusting, perverted thoughts in my mind all day long. Sometimes they were there for 5 or 6 hours every day, and I couldn't control them. You ever watch that movie, The Matrix?
Yes.
Remember at the beginning how he wakes up and he's in that pod and he has this cable stuck to his head?
Yes.
Transmitting the matrix, transmitting that illusion.
Yes, the illusion.
That's how I felt. I felt like there was a cable stuck to the back of my head, constantly transmitting all these sinful thoughts, these sinful attractions that I didn't want. And I couldn't unplug it. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't. And so I decided to do it. I told my mom, and she laughed at me. She said, when you do that, God does the opposite, Josh. He's not going to answer it. And I was like, oh, yes, he is. Watch. I'm going to do it every day until he finally gives me what I want. And so I did that. But then God began to work in my life. And he allowed me to see that there was a lot of people around me that were struggling with the same issue. And that I could help them. That I could help a lot of people all over the world. And that is why the devil had sent that spirit of depression to try to get me to leave this world so I wouldn't fulfill my purpose, my ministry. When I realized this, that I was being played, that I was being manipulated once again, I said, you know what? No, I'm changing course, Lord. And so I began to, on April 1st, 2018, I began to switch my mindset. And I said, you know what? No, I'm going to just keep on praying and fasting, but I'm going to change my petitions. I'm going to put new ones for God to use me to reach millions of people all over the world. And for God to use my testimony the same way those other testimonies helped me during those 8 days, that my testimony could also give people the motivation to know that there is power in prayer and fasting, so they can also try for themselves.
I got chills when you just said that. And this is a good little point for you too, for those who are struggling with suicidal ideation and depression. What you said was so powerful. You said it was the enemy projecting his goal and objective to get you out of the way because he saw that God will potentially use you to reach many people. So for those that are watching right now and they're dealing with these thoughts, they're dealing with these desires, it's not because you're nobody. It's not because you're useless. In fact, it's the opposite. The enemy wants you out the picture because you're a threat. He only attacks threats. Pharaoh from the beginning, when they were becoming stronger, what did he do? Kill all the boys. Herod, kill all the boys. There's a king that's going to rise. There's a king. There's something that the Lord wants to use or do in you that the enemy is catching a glimpse of, and he wants you out of the picture. So on the contrary, you're not useless. On the contrary, you're not purposeless, but God has great purpose in you.
Yes.
There's so much that God wants to do in you if you're watching.
good, so
I just want to throw that in there.
Amen. That's very true. And I also heard a testimony from an ex-witch that mentioned that those demons, they can see when you're born. Some people who have big ministries, who have a special calling, they have a light over themselves. And those demons can see that as soon as you're born. And they will start, sometimes even from the moment that you come into the world, to try to take you out, to destroy you. So absolutely, what you said is 100% truth.